landscape regions of New York State map found on page 2 of your reference table, and we're going to connect that to the bedrock geology map found on page 3. Let's start with page 2, landscape regions of New York State. This map shows the different landscape regions in New York. A landscape region is an area in which the physical features of bedrock, streams, hills, valleys are all developed from a common set of processes. The boundaries are clearly marked. If you were walking the landscape, it would clearly appear to change, and the boundaries on the map are clearly marked by a heavy black line. Now, there are 3 general types of landscape regions: mountains, plateaus, and plains. All are represented in New York State. So let's see. In New York, there is only one mountain landscape region, and that is right here, the Adirondack Mountains. The Adirondack Mountains, like all mountains, have high elevation and high relief. They also have bedrock that is igneous or metamorphic, and streams that would be flowing flow fast down steep slopes. If we take a step down in our elevation, we're at the plateau, that middle elevation where we have sedimentary bedrock that creates rolling hills by the action of stream erosion cutting the valleys. We have a large area plateau in New York State, starting with the Allegheny Plateau, kind of right in the center of the state. You'll also notice the Tug Hill Plateau up here. And then this area called the Catskills. Okay, now let's notice that there is only a dotted line that separates the Allegheny Plateau from the area known as the Catskills, and a dotted line that separates the Allegheny Plateau from the Tug Hill Plateau. What that means is this large area is really one plateau area, but there are certain parts of the state that are very well known, like the Catskills, so they get named on the map. But this is one very large plateau area. Speaking of large plateau, if we extend beyond New York State, the area into Pennsylvania that is called the Appalachian Plateau is also one large part of this plateau area. Now, if we take another step down in elevation, when we get to areas that are very low relief and low elevation, fairly flat land, streams would flow slowly, we're talking about the plains. And all of the plains areas in New York State are near water. For example, the Erie, Ontario lowlands, and there's that word plains in parentheses, the Erie, Ontario lowlands is next to Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. If we follow that coastline a little further, we'll see the St. Lawrence lowlands, which follows the St. Lawrence River, the Champlain lowlands, where we have Lake Champlain, and then the Hudson Mohawk lowlands, which are going to follow the Hudson River and the Mohawk River. And let's not forget the Atlantic Coastal Plain, which is the entirety of Long Island. All of those are plains landscape regions. Now, I did say at the beginning that we were going to connect the landscape map to the bedrock geology map that we see on page 3. Remember, we said that type of bedrock is one of the physical features used to define a landscape region. So let's see how this works. Down at the bottom, on the lower left-hand corner of your bedrock geology map, you'll see that there is a key. The key that shows you all of the different symbols, okay, that are represented in the shading and patterning of the map. And then beyond that, you'll notice that there are some words that are all in capital letters. These are the geologic periods for which those areas of bedrock date. Beyond that, you will see the type of bedrock mentioned. Okay, it's all of this. So we've got symbol, we've got geologic age, and we've got type of rock, all keyed on this map. So let's take a look at a few examples. If we were to look for, let's talk about Ithaca as our first location. Okay. We go back to our New York State map because this is the one that will actually show us the city. Ithaca is located at the tip of one of the Finger Lakes. Okay, we will notice the patterning. It's that kind of dot. If you look that up in your key, it will lead you to, right here, the geologic age known as Devonian, and then what kinds of rocks are found: limestones, shales, sandstones, and conglomerates. So that's what we read from this map about the bedrock underlying Ithaca. So we said Ithaca was Devonian in geologic period. Its bedrock then is limestone, shale, sandstone, and conglomerates. You may recognize all of these as being good sedimentary rocks. Okay. All right, so let's look at another city, Old Forge. Back to our map. Old Forge is located up here. Okay. And if we look at that symbol, we are way down here. Okay, at a geologic age called Middle Proterozoic. And if we keep on reading to the type of rock we have, it's gneiss, quartzite, and marble. So very different bedrock under Old Forge. Old Forge, we said, is Middle Proterozoic, and we had gneiss, we had quartzite, and marble. Now you may recognize those as good metamorphic rocks. Very different. Last city. Let's take a look at Riverhead. Okay, Riverhead, found out on Long Island. So we're out here. Okay. Checking out that symbol. We're right to the top of this diagram. Okay, the first symbol dating to Cretaceous and Pleistocene times. And what do we have? We have unconsolidated to weakly consolidated gravels, sands, and clays. All right, so Riverhead, this is Cretaceous and Pleistocene. And we wind up with gravel, sand, clay. Not even rocks, right? These are sediments. So we have loose sediments underlying Long Island, again, due to its glacial history. So we found out quite a bit about the bedrock underlying different locations in the state. How does that connect back to landscape regions? Well, let's then take a look at these locations and the landscape region map. You kind of have to visualize if you could overlay one map on top of the other. In your reference table, you could open your reference table or the long way so that you can see pages 2 and 3 together, and it helps you overlay the different maps one on top of the other. And you will recognize that the symbols and the differing symbols correspond to the shape of the landscape region. I'm going to point out, for example, what we see here in this arrangement, right, this kind of circular arrangement around the Adirondack Mountains. You see how those kinds of symbols for bedrock are keyed, right, to that particular location. Otherwise, when you look at the plains, you look at the plateau areas, you again could match up differing bedrocks to differing areas. So if we look at the 3 cities that we just examined, let's find them. Ithaca. which was at the tip of the Finger Lake, right here. Now we can see, that's squarely in the Allegheny Plateau. And it makes sense, because the plateau regions must have sedimentary rock, and that matches all of what we would expect, Allegheny Plateau. If we look for Old Forge, which had the marbles, the quartzite, the gneiss, well, wrong map, here we are. Old Forge, remember, was right here. Oh yeah, it's in the Adirondack Mountains. And the mountain landscape regions always have metamorphic or igneous rock. So we are in the Adirondack Mountains for the landscape region for Old Forge. The last one, Riverhead. So we go to our map, and Riverhead, yep, goes way out here. Oh, squarely in the Atlantic coastal plain. Yes, those low-lying plains areas. So there we are. Atlantic coastal plain. So we've had an opportunity to look at the correspondence between bedrock, landscape regions, looking at different locations on our map. And remember, that's by visualizing page 2 and page 3 together. I know if you kind of do it like this, okay, you can get the feel of where those different landscape regions correspond to bedrock. Okay, you should do just fine.